Hey guys, happy Wine Wednesday. Here I am again trying to situate myself here because I have a new setup for summer. I have my other table. I actually move outdoors. I'm crazy like that in the summer, and then now I'm sitting on my my background for all the dishes that I make. So you have to make do with what you have when you're a solopreneur. Anyway, let me just share this out, and then we're gonna get started today. If you're there, please tell me hello, and I'm gonna share out to my page manufacturers. I'm gonna share out to my personal profile and my group Plant Empowered Bon Vivants, which is more of a meeting place for those of you who are interested in a vegan or plant-based lifestyle. There's lots of recipes. There are, obviously other members who are a variety of stages. Pretty much 80% probably is not vegan or plant-based, but they're just, as I call it, plant curious. So there we go. All right, so it is first of May, which I'm also very excited when I have a new month coming because there's all kinds of possibilities. There's new food available to us, and May Day today, of course, it's huge in my home country where it's a public holiday and we celebrate workers' rights, and there's all kinds of parades and talks and things like that. Here, not so much, even though we mention it, but people are still working away. And hopefully you guys have had a great day. Hopefully you are ready to embrace spring. We're still waiting for it somewhat in New York because it is only about 50 degrees Fahrenheit here, so kind of cool. But looking at my emails and things like that, farmers markets are starting to pop up. They're starting to introduce these new produce of course, the spring, which is what? We're going to go into what they are and why they might be a little bit difficult sometimes to pair with wine. So perhaps not the sort of most delicious to drink with wine, but probably that's because you have not drank the right wine with it. So if you haven't had a good experience pairing these spring produce food style dishes, chances are you probably have picked up the wrong bottle of wine. So we're going to get you straight today. But I wanted just to say, for those of you who aren't familiar with who I am, I often like to include wine in a plant-based lifestyle because I want to show that eating plant-based or being vegan is not weird. It's as normal as any other diet and lifestyle. We enjoy wine. We want to create gourmet food because honestly, we're not, if not as much of a foodie as everybody else, probably even more so because we have so much variety to choose from, and that's really what I try to highlight with my recipes that I post on my blog sunnygandera.com and around my social media channels. But for me, wine is also important because we are flavor seekers. We constantly want to create new experiences and combinations to heighten our flavor experience of a meal by experiencing this wonderful world of wine. So I also think there's a lot you can learn from wine, from the people that make them, the regions they're made in, and sort of their culture, what inspires them to make these wines. And I always am very curious about other people and other cultures, and so wine is really where that comes in. And today we're talking about, like I said, wines that go with the seasonal produce of spring. I'm a big fan of seasonal eating and cooking. If you follow me, you know that. Really taking advantage of farmers markets, really taking advantage of nature's bounty, the way that it naturally produces produce for us, because when in season, as I always say, it's more flavorful, it's less expensive, and it's more nutritious. So it's really a win-win situation. Plus you get a variety as you move through the seasons. You can sort of mix up your food, if you will. So what are these spring foods that we talk about? So artichokes, asparagus, peas, and greens. You may have seen this on my post today where I promoted this Facebook Live. These are considered sort of problem children in the wine world, right? Because sometimes, for instance, if you drink red wines with asparagus and artichokes, it's not a very pleasant experience because some things in the red wine, the tannins, make the dish then or the produce taste metallic, and you have sort of this clash. Similarly, if you're drinking wines with no acid, so think southern runs or really kind of very fruit forward wines with asparagus, and you're going to have the same things happening where the asparagus, the bitterness of those bitter greens and the artichokes is going to take over and really just kind of alter the flavor of the wine completely. So that's why I wanted to introduce you to a few grapes, so give you a few tips as to what you can pick up this weekend or even tonight or tomorrow, wherever you are and whenever you're ready to drink. So today I am featuring one of my favorite grapes, white grapes, and that is Grüner Veltliner. And so this is an Austrian grape. I'm going to go into it a little bit more, but this is the label. So this is Leumer. It's from Kammtal in Austria. This is their Langenlois Kammtal Grüner Veltliner. I picked up a 2016. I'll go into maybe when you want to look into a couple of years of age on these wines and when you want to sort of get the latest and the greatest. But Grüner Veltliner is one of those grapes that are really, really successful when you pair it with these artichokes and asparagus, because it has this herbal, citrusy, minerally character that really lends itself well to the flavor profiles of the spring produce. Just to mention a few other suggestions, if you can't find Grüner Veltliner, if for some reason you've tried it and you're like, no, I just kind of want to try something else, try Sauvignon Blanc. I especially like Pouillet Fumé, which is from the Loire Valley, and that has, you know, it's a smoky sort of oaky character to it. New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs, because it's really sort of herbaceous and grassy and vibrant. You can try Riesling. I love the Rieslings from Alsace, has a little bit of body to it. Verdejo from Spain, which I said last week is sort of Spain's Sauvignon Blanc. Chablis, which is of course from the Northern Run, which is a steely unoaked Chardonnay. You can do champagne. Of course, you can drink champagne with anything, and it's a great match. Dry Muscat from Alsace is actually really a good choice as well. And Muscadet, the grape, is Melon de Bourgogne, and I actually talked about that last week. And so do let me know if you're watching the replay, if you did go out and try Muscadet, and if you like it. I think it is especially going to be delicious the hot summer months because it's such a refreshing light wine. Back to Grüner Veltliner. It is the signature grape of Austria. In fact, it's the nation's most widely planted grape. It produces this white wine with savory aromas, spicy flavor, and really great acidity. Young Grüner Veltliner is fresh tasting. You have these sort of green apple notes, lemon peel, grapefruit, radish, almonds, cucumber, dill, green vegetable, and arugula aromas. And they're sort of, these are the wines that are made for sort of lighter style drinking, immediate drinking, sorry. They're lighter style and required for immediate drinking, while more structured examples can age for many, many years. So what makes Grüner Veltliner such a food-friendly wine, especially to these produces of the green asparagus, artichokes and such, is that they have this bright acidity, like I said, this I can't even speak, minerality, and these savory characters that makes it ideal for vegetables that are difficult to pair, like I said, the bitter greens and such. The citrus flavors, I think, is what really brightens the food up and really, you know, matches really well. And there are two different styles of Grüner, which I think is really important to note. Of course, now my dog is crying, so I'm gonna bring you with me here, and hopefully we will not have him crying anymore. So here we go. Take a little tour of my house, why don't you? All right, so hopefully that's gonna do it for today's whining from the babies. So there are two different styles of Grüner Veltliner, and I think that's kind of important to note, because a lot of the Grüner Veltliners that you see in sort of regular corner stores, they're going to be the first one, that is the sort of lighter, fresh, with citrus aromas, minerality, and they're slightly spritzy too, and they're the ones that you can just kind of, they're made to just drink right away. They're not serious, they're just delicious and refreshing, and that's it. And then you have a second style, which is spicier and weightier and more complex. And often you see that in these regions of Austria called Wachau, Kremstal, and Kammtal. And this is, of course, from the Kammtal region that I told you about. These are really well structured, richly textured, and they need several years in the bottle before they're ready to drink. So they can be quite different. Some of them can also be aged in old sort of aged oak casks, so imparting a little bit of wood, but most of them really should be, traditionally it's all about the fruit, they should be aged in stainless steel tanks. Some of them can be reminiscent of sort of mature white Burgundy, so these are serious wines that can age for 5 to 10 years. And I picked up this Loimer Langenloy. I'm going to talk about that because this is really, Loimer is one producer I got to know very well when I was a wine buyer, and I bought this wine, and it's really kind of a signature example of the grape. So I thought it was perfect to showcase and give you that example of a grape if you really want to taste what Grüner Veltliner tastes like, because some of them can be too tropical and too simple. You know, there's so many sort of versions of a grape, but I'm interested in featuring sort of the classic so you know what it's supposed to taste like, or at least what it's known for. So this, I believe I spent around 20 bucks, maybe 18 to 20 bucks. Not too bad. 2016, so it's already going on 3 years, but that's okay because the way they make these actually gets, it's a perfect drinking age now when it's about 3, and it can probably last for another couple of years. So this is really more complex, has a sort of a golden core to it. So Loimer is located in Kamptal, Austria, which is sort of northwest of Vienna, the capital, which is located in northern Austria. And Langenlois, which is, it's called Langenlois Kamptal, it's the main town in this area. And it's owned by Fred Loimer, who took over his family estate in 1997. He started working with his father about over a decade before that. And his wines are some of the best examples of Grüner Veltliner and Riesling in the Kamptal region. And he is certified biodynamic and organic. He really is a fan of non-intervention and patience, taking his time making wine. All the grapes are hand harvested. This is really a very classic, high quality estate. So we're going to taste it a little bit. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to just see, because sometimes they don't pop up, but if you are there, if you don't need to ask me about Grüner Veltliner. If you don't know, have you guys tried Grüner Veltliner? Comment. What do you think if you've tried it, and would you be willing to try it? If you're making, I'll get to the food pairing suggestions in a little bit, but if you are making anything with spring produce, I really recommend you pick up a bottle. And even if you just have a cocktail party or just sitting out on the porch and you want really nice, refreshing wine, this is the way to go. So what I'm tasting is, it's definitely a developing, riper yellow apple, sort of lemon, a bit of lime even. Took a very big sip. It's 5 o'clock, right? I don't care about that. It is a full body, has this really, really piercing acidity, but there's so much fruit in this that you kind of want that acidity to just brighten it up. Full body, like I said, really smooth texture, great concentration of fruit, really zesty, and there's a little bit of spiciness at the end. And now I can see when I'm tasting it why this pairs so well, for instance, with arugula. If you have an arugula salad, think about it. Arugula has that sort of pepperiness, right? Or even if you do a pasta dish with a creamy pasta dish like cacio e pepe with vegan parm and lots of cracked black pepper. I can't even talk today. I swear this is my first sip today. You know, that kind of will mimic the pepperiness, and the fresh acidity in the wine will kind of cut through the creaminess of the cheese, right? So there's so many ways you can go with food pairing, but it does pair with such a wide range of food, and I'm such a fan of you know, foods that just go well with everything. You know, like I would say like maybe you can say that about any wine, but there are certain wines that have specific sort of like Moscato or Gewürztraminer. It's like you don't want to drink that with every single meal. So there's certainly more food-friendly wines out there than others. But you know, with a fresh style, it really just is so well suited to all kinds of salads, because now we're going to start you know, eating lighter, right? It's going to be warmer out there. We're going to start eating more vegetables like broccoli and you know, artichokes, of course, and asparagus, as I mentioned, peas, broccoli, green beans, all these kind of herb dishes. If you have a really herbaceous dish or sauce. That's wonderful. Like pesto is great if you do like a pesto pizza, for instance, and really just a mouth-watering aperitif. This is really a sort of aperitif, meaning it's to satiate your, or not satiate, it's to whet your appetite. This does that actually. The bigger wines will combine naturally high acidity and full body texture and make them a really versatile an exotic alternative to Chardonnay. So even if you're a Chardonnay lover or a Sauvignon Blanc lover, try Gruner Veltliner. It's really a nice, refreshing change. And if you might be tired of it, or even if you're not tired of your favorite wine, you just want to try something new, maybe that becomes your next favorite thing. I always say that, be open-minded, because you know, there are hundreds of thousands of different brands available to us, at least here in New York State. So in addition to those vegetables that I mentioned, I would go with maybe say a zucchini quiche. I would do sushi. I would do Thai food. I would do grilled vegetables, of course, in the barbecue, or fried food. French fries, anyone? I always say French fries because it's so good to drink like a nice, high acid wine with crispy fried foods, tempura. Indian food, Japanese food in general, not just sushi. Mushrooms, I think, will be really, that umami flavor will really pair well with the savory quality in Gruner Veltliner. And yeah, so that's really it. And I think that, if you guys think, if you're watching now, or if you are watching the replay, if you think it's helpful for me to suggest some producers of, say, a grape, right? If you want some producers from Comtal, Austria, that make Gruner, or maybe Riesling, if you think that's valuable, I will be happy to put that in the comments, just so that you have like a list of producers, so you can go to your wine store, or even look for it if you go to a restaurant and look for a wine on the list, so you have some type of reference point. I do like to think that my taste is relatively okay. Of course, we all differ there, but you can at least get a feel for what I like. And I always try to pick wines that are organic, biodynamic, not necessarily certified, but that practice sustainable winemaking, that respect nature, that farm with nature, that don't put a crap load of chemicals in the wine, because I don't want to drink it. Much like I don't drink soda, because there are all kinds of things I don't know how to pronounce that can happen in your mass-produced wine. So, the best bet would be to, and of course I like vegan wines as well. That means that the wines aren't fined or filtered, which in essence, even if you're not vegan, you probably want to go for those wines, because when you fine and filter wines, you remove a lot of flavor as well, not just the unwanted sort of things floating around in your wine, or sometimes they fine because they want to remove some tannin or off odors, but you can also remove a lot of texture and other flavors that you might want and find interesting in the wine. So I always like to go for natural wines that are as natural as possible. They don't need to be technically sort of labeled in the natural wine world, because that can be kind of crazy too sometimes. But just the best way to do it is small family vineyards. They're doing it for the passion of making wine, not trying to churn out, much like, we choose food, right? We'd much rather go to the farmer's market and get our vegetables from a small, or even, any other product from a small farmer than get a mass-produced product that you don't even know where it went and what it looked like, and it's all wrapped up and it's in the supermarket somewhere. It's just not the same thing. It doesn't taste the same. It certainly isn't as healthy or nutritious. So the same with wine. Don't think about wine any different. So when I talk about these wines, I really want you to open up your mind to just kind of go somewhere where you've never been before. There are so many different producers out there doing amazing things, and they can be classic wines, they can be new wines, anything. And if you're interested in learning more, I am doing online wine classes now. So if you have a party, say, you are inviting a couple of friends over, or maybe a few couples, and you want to do a special evening with vegetarian food or vegan food, and you are looking for some guidance and you want some guest in your house to talk about the wine, but you don't necessarily want them in your home, I do them via Zoom and Skype. So you can hook me up to your computer or your TV, and we can do it via Zoom. I mean, today everything is possible, and I can guide your guests through the course and make it a really nice special party for you guys. I've done this many times. It's very successful. So what I do is I will send you a list of the wines that I know are available in your area, so you can go to your local wine store and get them. You give me the budget and I tell you, and I even provide recipes so you can actually have some guidance as to what to make as well if you are cooking in fact. If not, I'll give you also food pairing suggestions as well. So it's a little fun thing to do, maybe for the summer coming up, if you have get-togethers, cookouts, barbecues, things like that. And it doesn't have to last very long, but it's just a nice little touch. So if you're interested in that, get in touch with me. You can email me at sunny@sunnygandera.com or just direct message me here, of course, on my page. And that's it. So I think we're going to be done here today. I didn't see any questions, so that's why I'm zooming through this. But do think about Gruner Veltliner. Again, this is the Leumer Langenlois 2016 Gruner Veltliner from Kamptal, Austria. I'm going to put it as usual in the comments. Please comment what you found helpful in this session, what didn't really interest you. Any feedback really helps me make these videos a little bit better for you. So with that, I say chin chin, happy May Day, happy Hump Day, happy Wine Wednesday. Hope you have something great in your glass, whatever it is, and I will see you guys next week. Cheers!